Good morning to everyone who is out there in cyberland. Thanks to all of you for being a part of Building Trades Week 2021 and attending this session. All attendees are muted, but we still want to hear from you. So students, educators, please use the chat to ask any questions or share comments. The session is scheduled for 30 minutes, and we'll be sharing your questions with our speakers, who are Allison Funkhauser and Mike Myers from DA Dodd. So we want to thank our sponsors for Building Trades Week 2021, MACAF, which is the Michiana Area Construction Industry Advancement Fund. And I say that's why they go by MACAF. That's my funny joke. And then Big C Lumber and NECA, the National Electrical Contractors Association, Northern Indiana chapter. Please visit the Building Trades Week landing page if you haven't already to learn more. There's great information coming out there, and these sessions will also be recorded to go out there. So if you see something you like and you want to see it again, you can check that out, share it with parents, share it with friends, and let them know about this. So we're excited to welcome Allison and Mike today. Thanks for being here. DA Dodd specializes in plumbing, heating, cooling, sheet metal, and industrial process piping. They have a diverse set of clients, including hospitals, private and public schools, colleges and universities, manufacturing facilities, financial institutions, and major corporations. So they keep very busy. So Allison and Mike are going to tell us all about that and what they do. And I'm just going to kick off with some questions. But again, if anybody in the audience has questions, please drop those into the chat and we will get those asked as we go forward. So I'm going to start off, and I'm not sure who wants to take this one, Mike or Allison, but just tell us a little bit about DA Dodd and what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us here this morning.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's try that again. Sorry, one second.
Looks like we're having some feedback issues, so.
Okay, let's try this again. Oh, I'm going to let Mike answer this question.
Mike has to unmute. Sorry.
Okay, we're going to try this again. Sorry, everybody. DA Dodd was founded back in 1995. Like you have mentioned before, we have had the privilege to be involved in a lot of different projects. The Children's Hospital, a lot of Notre Dame projects, the science side of Purdue, hospitals. So we have been able to work with the community as we move forward and build on those things.
Right. Do you have, I'm going off script. Do you have a favorite type of project? Is there anything that you work on that you really kind of go, that one, like that was a really special project?
I myself was able to work on two bigger projects over at Notre Dame. One was for the reactor, where we dropped or helped drop a thermal reactor right down in the middle of a science building. Those are 8-year projects that and test periods that once they start, if they have to stop, they then have to turn around and start all over again. So there's a lot of backup to make sure that they can continue that 8-year process without any type of interference. Another one was we built a room over there for a DNA splitter as they work on cancer. And moving forward with that, we actually were able to build a room that the factory that built the actual equipment gave Notre Dame a brand new piece of equipment because they could get better results with our room that we built for them and temperature control than the factory was able to do right from their backyard. So that there was a lot of fun in that. And a chance to feel like you were part of really bettering people around you. I've even gotten on a plane and flown over to Afghanistan for Dodd and did work over in Mazar Sharif.
Wow,
So in the 13 years that I've been with them, I've had a lot of really great opportunities.
that's excellent. Thank you for that. It sounds like you like to solve problems. You're like a puzzle solver, like.
Like being a MacGyver, yes.
It's important to be a MacGyver in this universe. I'm not sure the students will get that reference, but look it up. You can Google that, the
There
MacGyver.
you go. I guess I did kind of date myself a little bit there. Didn't I?
I do it all the time. It's all right. Those are good references. And I'm amazed by what my kids actually do know. Like I have teenagers who would know the MacGyver reference. So they do know that stuff. So Allison, I'm going to hop to you, I think, on this one. That we were wondering about the definition of HVAC. A lot of the students on the call will know that, but just making sure that everybody knows what HVAC is. And let's see if your sound works. The mysteries of technology.
Yeah, my sound works. It's just a little bit of a feedback.
Is it?
Is
I
it
think
possible to mute Mike? There, how about that? I think it's coming through our computers. The HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
I think so. I'm going to do a technology suggestion. I think either somebody has to leave the room and be in a different room, or you just share a screen.
We're coming.
That's what we're gonna do. Sorry about that.
You know what, MacGyver, we're solving the problem, and it doesn't matter because we can do that.
I'm gonna log Mike out real quick.
Excellent. I'll make Mike answer a question, maybe, or somebody can answer a question. So we're talking a little bit about how students, particularly high school students, but also we have adults who may listen to this who'd be interested in switching careers or making a change or moving forward in their career. How does one get involved in an apprenticeship with DA Dodd, and what does that look like?
Mike, do you wanna?
Oh, okay. Getting involved with DA Dodd, we go through Local 172. At that point, they would need to reach out to them. I believe they look at the apprentices and start the process the first of the year every year. And there is some tests that they take, not necessarily measuring more than just mechanical ability. And at that point, then they actually begin to make the selection. And I believe they start classes in June. There's also the ability to come in as a helper prior, which is something that I strongly recommend. Just to even get your feet wet, really get an idea of what a mechanical contractor does and what it means before you even have to go through the apprenticeship process. And it does give you a little bit of an edge, being that you're already involved in it. You've already got your feet underneath you a little bit, and you're still very interested in moving forward. I would think that reflects very well in a person as they begin to go into the apprenticeship.
So as far as wages, when you come in as a helper, what does that look like?
The helper wages, I believe, starts about $12.60 is the helper. I actually did, unfortunately, hold on, let me reach across here. With the apprenticeship, first year, it begins about $16.10 is where you begin. And by the time you're done with your 5th year, before you top out, you're at $32.20. Now that's just what's on your check. There's also what we call your package, which is your bonuses. I'm sorry, not bonuses. Your insurance, your retirement. So you also have that side of it.
And those are important things, I think, for students in particular. It's hard to think about that kind of stuff when you're maybe 18, 19, even when you're like 25, but to think long game about what that retirement looks like and the value of insurance and how that just helps stabilize your life and your expenses, I think is something that we can't emphasize enough. To, even though it's not exciting, it's really important to think about the long-term game of having that kind of financial stability is really key. And that's
Oh,
where
it
the trades.
absolutely is. And I would be the first one to admit, when I was young, retirement was not even in my mind. And that's what I think is one of the great things about this is it doesn't have to be. It's being taken care of for you every paycheck, both local and national. So you don't really have to focus on it. It's just being done for you in the background, getting you ready for that time in your life where you then can look and go, okay, now I really need to focus on this. Where am I at? What is going to be my quality of life when I am ready to walk away from and retire.
And it gives you those options where if you wanted to retire maybe a little early and go on and even do something else or pivot into a different area within HVAC, I think there are some it provides different choices, I think, to have that kind of financial stability, which is
Absolutely.
a really great thing. So how long, is there a typical time frame that people spend as a helper if they do come in like that, kind of observing and learning to make sure they kind of are interested in the field and want to pursue that? Is there an average time? And then does DA Dodd sponsor them through the apprenticeship program? Is that how that works?
Not really sponsors through it. Typically, if they're working already for us, it's not like they're going to get immediately put into another company when they go into the apprenticeship. 172 is really good about, you started here, you're going to stay here. Typically, it works that as helpers, we like to get them right out of high school. So this class that we're talking to today, once they're done with school, if somebody would reach out and want that kind of direction, we would hire them as a helper, with the intentions on getting them to sign up in January for the apprenticeship.
Okay, that's great. And it's good for you too, because you get to see their work habits and how they fit in with your team and get an idea of what that's going to look like going forward, which it's a win for both sides, I think, in that story.
Yeah.
So for both of you, because you obviously do different jobs within DA Dodd, what was your first job? How old were you? And what did it teach you that you use in your job today? Kind of give us your career pathway, or interstate, as I call it, because I don't know a lot of who have straight pathways. Some do, it's impressive, but I'm not one of those people. So tell me.
I'm not one of those people either. So I actually majored in mass communication in college. So probably my first real job would have been an internship for a radio station. So I got to be a radio announcer and do that part-time during my last 2 years of college. So not a direct path to human resources, but I'm happy where I ended up. I definitely feel like that, especially the writing aspects of my communication degree program, helped me with a lot of the work that I do today.
So would you recommend to students who are on this call, whether they're pursuing trades or other careers, like to really focus on the writing and improving the community? What communication skills specifically do you feel like they should really work to hone while they're still in high school or in post-secondary?
I think definitely you can't ever go wrong with spending a lot of time on your communication skills, both verbal and writing, but being able to communicate what you're feeling or what facts you need to convey to someone clearly in writing is always a very valuable skill to have in any work field and industry. So yeah, I would definitely emphasize spending a lot of time on that will help them no matter what they do.
Excellent. So how did you make the pivot to human resources? When did that happen? When did you?
So right after I graduated, I went to work for a logistics and shipping company and took a position in their operations department, and thought I was going to kind of get my foot in the door to eventually maybe move into their communications department. And a couple years in, someone said to me, have you ever thought about working in human resources or in recruitment? And I said, no, I haven't. And so they shared more information with me. I ended up applying for the position, and the rest is kind of history. I realized pretty quickly in that first year, like, wow, I never I never thought about pursuing a career path in this field, but it was a great fit, something I enjoyed, and have been there, have been in that field ever since.
Excellent. Okay, so what about you, Mike? What's your story?
Actually, out of high school, I went to Wyoming Tech and studied diesel and got my associate's degree in diesel business. I came back and I was rebuilding engines for about 5 years, and just knew I wanted more out of life. I wanted more of a challenge. Standing in a corner doing the same thing every day just didn't really seem to be much of a future for me personally. So that's when I actually went back and started going to Purdue, and I was actually looking to be a football coach slash educator. There was a little bit of a money situation. I came back, I started doing this as a way to get myself back down to school, and absolutely fell in love with it. The ability to work on so many different things throughout the week, the variety. I've been doing this for 33 years and I still learn daily as far as what's out there and the best way to do things. It's constantly changing, and you need to stay with it, or you end up getting left behind. If you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have to have a laptop to go work on equipment, I probably would have laughed at you. But those are the exciting things, that it's just constant challenge and change.
Which is what keeps it fresh, I think, is, yeah.
It does.
So where specifically have you picked up the new skills, and like, how did you, when you switched to the using the laptop all the time, did you go to specific training to learn different programs and things like that? Or what does that look like? How have you incorporated that into your career?
As far as the individual equipment that we work on, Dodd is incredible about getting the extra training. We have a very specific fund that is added to and increases every year. So for that further education, to stay on top of the ever changing out there. On top of it, it's a matter of trial and error when you're out in the field, which is challenging and exciting as well. But there's always backup. There's always somebody at Dodd that has the experience and the knowledge, and everybody works so well together here that they're a phone call away, which makes it nice. It gives you a little bit of back support.
So Allison, do you manage the training and development? What does that look like within the system, and knowing what people need and connecting them to the right training? How does that work?
I'm involved in parts of that, probably what Mike is speaking to, though. A lot of training as well during the apprenticeship and beyond comes from the local unions also, which you can also get specific certifications within the trade too, to advance as well. I help more on the compliance side of training, ensuring that all of our employees, from service technicians up through management in the company, have tools and resources they need to know how to stay compliant when working with our customers, when working with other vendors. So I think it's kind of a combination effort between the company and then the support that we get ongoing from the local union as well.
That's a great partnership. And I think too, traditional post-secondary shifting a little bit. I know Ivy Tech is looking at doing shorter term certification. So if somebody needs to take a particular class in some kind of IT program or a machining class or welding, they're being more flexible in moving away from those traditional semesters, because working people don't have the same amount of time to put in, and maybe also have a baseline knowledge that you could build on a little bit quicker and may not need that traditional semester. So I do see that evolving, and it's good to know that you're paying attention to that for all your employees. And that's something I would recommend to students when you're looking for and a place to work, find out if there is ongoing training or if you're kind of on your own, because I think supporting that training is good for the individual, obviously, but also great for the company. It says something about having that team so you know who to call if you don't know. And sounds like DA Dodd really does that well. So I am going to do a reminder that if anybody has questions to drop those into the chat, but I will keep asking until I see anything drop in there. Oh, I like this one. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were in school?
We were talking about that one.
I think that's a really good
Mike
question.
has a really good answer for that one.
Learn, knowledge. It's once somebody gives that to you, it's yours forever. There's no expiration date on it. It's not a rent to own. It's yours, and you are going to use it throughout your life for support and a bargaining chip as you move forward through your career. So get as much as you can get and hold on to it, because nobody can ever take that away from you. And that's actually something that I really wish back when I was in high school that I grabbed as much as I can. And when I say grab as much as you can, I'm be greedy about it. If somebody's going to offer up their knowledge and their education, just take everything they're going to give you, because it's yours for the rest of your life.
Great, that's a great answer. Allison, do you have one too?
Oh man, I agree with everything that Mike said. That's kind of hard to top, but it's so true. And just having that eagerness. I love what I do, and I think I've always been a fairly hard worker and had a good work ethic. But sometimes I do look back, at those early years right out of school, and man, I wish I would have jumped in with both feet quicker and really gave it everything. So I think being eager and having that passion for whatever it is that you do, and even if you don't know entirely what you want to do, just jumping in and kind of finding that along the way.
And I think not being afraid to ask questions, because nobody knows everything. And I think that's an important lesson that sometimes is hard to learn, because you want to look confident and you're young and but asking the questions is the only way to learn. And people really like to teach other people. I think people like to share their knowledge. So not being afraid to ask those questions is key, which kind of leads me to this question. Are there special skills, certifications, education required? Are there classes you'd recommend in high school to even be prepared to be a helper or to move into that next step? Like, what are the certifications to move up in this work?
Well, definitely your building trades and the classes that comes along with that. I'm not saying it's mandatory, but I am saying it probably helps kind of get you, even as simple as identifying what a tool is and what it does and how to properly use it. Those are, I know that sounds very symptomatic, but it's actually a very useful when you actually get out in our world. As far as what you truly need to apply as an apprentice or even a helper, your diploma or a GED is what the apprenticeship is looking for. Valid driver's license, and you need to be over 18 is really their stipulations. As far as a helper for us, I would say definitely a valid driver's license, because right along with being a helper, you're going to need to be able to drive company vehicles, go to supply houses, pick up equipment, all those things that come along with our daily life.
I'm sure there's a lot of that. Just watching my husband do a home project, it takes a lot of trips to Lowe's to get some of those things done. So I can imagine.
Like my grandfather said, if it's not in your head, it better be in your feet.
That's a good one. I like that. So is there There was a question about the next steps on becoming a helper. So just to clarify, if somebody is interested in starting as a helper, they would apply directly to the employer, not through the union? You go to the union for the apprenticeship, but to the employer for the helper positions?
So it's a little bit of both. It definitely is a partnership. But what I would recommend if anybody is interested in pursuing a helper position, if you want to reach out to us directly at DA Dodd, and we'll follow up and provide additional contact information after this session today. But you can reach out to us and we will get you in touch with the appropriate local union that we work with for whatever region you might be based out of. But it would start through the union, but we would work with the union to say we would like this individual to come to work for us as a helper, but they would start with the union right away.
It's interesting to just understand how you navigate that, or the early part, I guess, the entrance, getting through the door.
So I guess I kind of think of it as they would be a Dodd employee, but a member of the applicable union for a specific territory.
I think I almost like think of that as like, that's your learning group, right? That's your, they're your partners in learning for your entire career, really, it sounds like. So that's pretty cool. Not everybody gets that as a part of their work. Not every industry or every job has that kind of cohort that can help you keep learning and get better at what you do. So that's another really great gift of, I think, the trades in general.
It absolutely is. And just to touch on that a little bit, even when you're done with your apprenticeship and you are a journeyman is what we refer to it, you have the ability and the right to go back and take refresher courses and any of the training that you got during your apprenticeship. On top of it, they're always putting classes together to further your education as well. Whether you want to go into welding, CAD is something that is very, very big right now. A lot of people are looking into the CAD side of things. Yeah, and the list just goes on and on as we can get these specialists in and that agree to actually teach the class, then they open it up and allow you to come in and further that. We're actually responsible as far as the contract goes to the contractors that we have to at least have 8 further education hours every year. I think pretty much everybody goes 8 and beyond. But it's part of the contract where it helps the contractors know that we're not as workers, we're not just 5 years, I'm done with school, I'm not going to learn anything. It's just to help push everybody forward.
Yeah, and like what you had mentioned earlier about the continuation of the skills, and that you take everything you learn, you take with you. It's portable no matter where you go. And it sounds like, especially I think about CAD, and I think about that, how it cuts across multiple trades, multiple kinds of jobs. If you decided you wanted to pivot into a different kind of career, you could take that and really apply it into something different. Like Allison uses her communication skills in HR, but they're still incredibly important. There's a lot you can do with those skills, and they work in every kind of job, which is great. So we're coming close to our time. It goes by so quickly, but I am wondering if each of you has a last words of wisdom, ideas for high school jobs that students could have to prepare themselves, skills they should gain, anything like that, as they're looking to explore what their next steps might be after they graduate, or if if it's an adult who's listening, who's interested in making a career change.
Words of wisdom.
It's a lot of pressure, I know.
What's that?
A lot of pressure, I know.
There you go. I would say if you're still in high school and you've still got some time before you're 18, I would be looking at jobs that help you learn to work with people. We are constantly working with outside contractors, end users, and people in our own company. And that's a skill set that will take you pretty much anywhere in any career is your ability to work with people, be able to put yourself in their shoes and see their side of things at times. I think that goes a long way in today's society.
Absolutely. I second that advice. I worked in the restaurant industry during college, and that's one thing I always look back at. And something I tell young people applying to jobs as DA Dodd is, yes, while we're a completely different industry, if you can make it, if you can be successful in a high pace role, such as working in a restaurant as a server, cooking, any of that, it's so high stress. If you can manage that, I think you're going to be able to work through multiple challenges in any career field. So there's a lot of different things that I think, whether it's the same field or industry, there's so many valuable things you can take from one experience and use in other ways, whatever you pursue.
Awesome, thank you. And we did have one last question slide into the Q&A, so I'm going to throw it out there. What is one of the hardest decisions you had to make on the field, and did you make the right decision? And I'm going to guess that's a Mike question. Although Allison in HR,
Oh, I can't talk about any of mine.
these are all top secret.
Probably the hardest decision that I've had to make is I actually work a lot in heavy industrial, light commercial, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but I work on bigger process steam boilers. And I had to make the call, and I got brought into a situation where I just did not feel that the boiler was safe to run. In 33 years, I've only had to lock out one boiler, and that was it. Because I knew the situation I was putting the customer in. We were shutting down his process. He had to send his workers home. There was a lot of people that were being affected by that choice, but I still had to make that choice for the liability and responsibility of Dodd, and the safety of the people that were around working in that facility. So it was a very difficult situation. The next one probably was putting somebody on an airplane and flying them halfway across the world with a box full of dryers so that I could get home before Christmas to see my family.
Yeah, but those are the kind of decisions sometimes you have to make, and they're hard, but you're prepared for that because you've kept learning your whole career, right? And you've accumulated some great knowledge.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's all about protecting the people that are around you with your decisions. There again, that's based on the world that when I was turning wrench, I lived in. And it's based on taking care of the company that takes care of you. When you're out there, you are DA Dodd. So you represent them and you protect them as well.
That is a great place, I think, to end our session. So thank you both. Thank you, Allison and Mike, for being here today. Thanks to the students and educators who are on here. Again, I encourage everyone to visit the Building Trades Week days, months, years. It's COVID. I blame everything on that landing page. And Allison has dropped that into the chat. The other Allison, we have Allison Herzig, who's behind that South Bend Chamber logo. So we have two Allisons on here. So check those out. The panels are being recorded, as I said. There are also other videos, information on companies, pathway pages, lots of great information out there. So please check it out. Again, thanks to Allison and Mike. Everybody have a great day, and we appreciate you being a part of Building Trades Week. Thank you.
Thank you so much.